Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a synopsis of the movie The Chump Scrubber. Enjoy watching. High school student Troy lived in the suburbs and delivered joy pills to school. There he passed the wheels to a trio of friends who were already supplying them to everyone else. Dean checked all his stashes at home and could only find a couple of pills. His mother Ellie also tries to increase the vitality of the neighbors. She sells them vitamin kits and promotes her own life system. His younger brother Charlie stays on the couch and plays video games. To get a refill, Dean goes to the supplier who lives next door. His mom is just having a party at the house, but Troy won't open the door. Dean knew where his friend hid the key, so he entered the guest house without a problem. There he saw his friend hanging from the ceiling. A computer cable was wrapped around his neck. Shocked, Dean returned the key to its place and left the house without saying anything to anyone. Dean's father, a renowned psychologist and writer, a narcissistic professional, offered to talk to his son about what had happened. He promised that he would talk to him as father to son, but in fact he was gathering material for his next book. Bill was outraged, not because his son promised to kill him, but because he called his book stupid. He keeps drugging Dean with pills instead of just listening to him. Crystal is one of a trio of bar girls who got the whole school hooked on chemistry. Her buddy Lee, after Troy's death, can't keep up with the high demand because the supply has run out. Someone called Dean a nutcase. Someone turned around and saw a skeleton hanging from a rope, so the school bully Billy decided to make fun of him. This is the third main bargainer. Miss Bradley is a famous designer. She is going to marry the mayor of the city and ours to choose a wedding dress. The groom is not particularly interested in this process, so Michael was sent to pick up the future stepson Charlie from school. The mayor is constantly harassed by Officer Bradley, his fiancee's ex-husband and Charlie's father. Crystal has pestered Dean to talk to her. She wants to apologize for her friend's antics. In Dean's opinion, it's better to have no friends at all than to be with such people. The girl won't let go of him as if she wants to ask him something. She does. Her friend sent her to find out where Troy kept his supplies. He and Dean were buddies and he should know. The guy got frustrated with Crystal and asked her not to talk to him anymore. Lee and Billy snuck into the teacher's lounge to find out where Dean lived, but found out something more interesting. He had a little brother named Charlie. They approached a crowd of kids who were making music outdoors and asked which one was Charlie. One kid answered and they threw him in the car. The mayor, a strange man to say the least, smiles all the time, and when they arrived at the school he stared at the painted dolphins. Billy called Dean and told him that they had kidnapped his brother Charlie, and he had to bring them Troy's pills now or they'd cut the kid's head off. But Dean came downstairs and saw his brother playing a video game as usual. The kid was eating potatoes and told him he wasn't Charlie Steele, he was Charlie Bradley, the son of Miss Bradley, the mayor's future wife. At home, the woman called out to the boy, but he didn't answer. The mother decided that the son was just hurt because she had left his father. The trio gave Charlie a ride home. He was about to get out of the car, but Billy suddenly changed his mind and drove away. The whole group drove home to Crystal's mom's house. The daughter honestly admitted to Jerry that they had kidnapped Charlie for the wheels, but they had the wrong boy. It was Charlie Bradley, the son of a local celebrity, who this week is marrying the mayor. The woman thought it was all a joke and let Charlie sleep over, but left a message on Miss Bradley's phone just in case. In the evening, Crystal called Dean again and asked for help, for they had stolen the boy, though not the right one. And Billy's not going to let him go. To make Dean believe her, the girl called Charlie on the phone. Dean immediately ran to Miss Bradley to tell her everything, but the woman said that her son was home and didn't want to talk to anyone. Dean went to his room, but of course the boy wasn't there. He tried to talk about Charlie again, but Michael spilled his wine and stood in the puddle with a weird smile. He likes to squish his feet in it. Dean realized these people were out of their minds, and they were no good. Troy's mom returned Ely her dishes, but the woman was wrong. Ely didn't bring her any. Mrs. Johnson had a nervous breakdown after her son died. She messes up, leaving the woman to invite a neighbor to come to Troy's wake. Jerry keeps getting greedy looks from the boys and she loves it. Billy tells her that he has perfect eyesight and is going to go to flight school. Jerry puts the kid in front of the pool and has him play the tuba. Crystal got excited when Dean called, but all he asked was that when this whole thing was over, she would leave him alone. Pretended they didn't know each other and added that he'd bring the pills tomorrow. In the morning, Miss Bradley received unpleasant news. A neighbor was planning to hold a wake on her wedding day. The woman was furious at the meanness of it. Dean swallowed a whole handful of his father's pills and his mood immediately lifted. Ely suggests that there are healthier ways to solve his son's problems, but an important father psychologist is not going to listen to some vitamin saleswoman in this matter. Crystal calls Charlie for a smoke. She wonders why he is so small. He tells her that his policeman father tried to solve this problem and gave him growth powder, but it ended up with diarrhea and he lost another 4 kilograms. 2 assholes showed up with a tuba. Crystal pranked Billy angrily, destroying the musical instrument. It was a birthday present for his mom. Good thing Charlie hated that thing. Meanwhile, Dean snuck onto Mrs. Johnson's property. The landlady calls all the neighbors and tells them she doesn't blame them for her son's death. The guy saw his dead friend, frightened he fell down, and the woman went to the noise, but she was distracted by the doorbell. Ellie wanted to return the dishes with food, but Mrs. Johnson did not open it, but only screamed silently. All she had to do to find the bag of pills was stick her hand in a hole in the wall. Now Trinity arrived at Billy's father's house. Badass kicks the punching bag and asks Charlie to come over. He wants the kid to punch him in the chest. In response, Billy pushes the boy on the bed and he hits his arm. His friends don't understand why he would do such a thing. Lee called him a jerk. Then the bully took a knife and threw it near his friend, who attacked Billy. His father heard the noise, and when he saw the knife stuck in the wall, he ordered his son to leave the room. Apparently, the man is beating him up. The bride and groom came to the conclusion that they had rarely seen Charlie lately, and then Michael admitted that he hadn't picked the boy up from school. He wasn't there anymore. They were close to starting to speculate about something, but Ms. Bradley is distracted by the ex who continues to follow them. Out of anger, the cop at the station smashed the frame of a family photo. After listening to the message, the couple finally arrived at Jerry's house, but the boy was no longer there. But the mayor remembered that this is where they met. A strange man climbed into the pool with his clothes on and dove headfirst into the pool. Wet, with a stupid smile on his face, he came out to the ladies and announced that there was another person inside him. Miss Bradley realized she had to get out or the whole town would be gossiping about this soon. Dean put the bag of meds on the table and called Crystal, setting up a meeting at the supermarket. The girl hoped that they could still get along. Back at the house, Dean took the bag and little Charlie started giggling for some reason. As promised, Dean brought everything he found at Troy's and demanded that they let the kid go, but Billy, instead of wheels, took out of the bag his mom's vitamins, a force of nature, which his little brother had put there. The bully lunged at the kid, but Dean was quickly on top of him and started piling on. He was pulled away by an adult, however, and Trinity took the kid away again. At dawn, 2 catering services arrived in the neighborhood, one to organize the wedding and one for the wake. Dean was taken to the police station. The young man told it like it was, about the wheels, the kidnapping of the child and the blackmail, but the cop took the whole story as a stupid joke. Dean wanted to tell Officer Bradley that the kidnapped boy's name was Charlie Bradley, but the adults wouldn't listen to him again. So he picked up the picture frame and showed it to the camera. His father is now putting Dean on even stronger medication. Charlie asks for a ride home, but no one will even talk to him. Trinity arrived at Lee's parents' house. Ms. Bradley yells at Michael for acting weird and not helping with the wedding at all. He, on the other hand, wants to talk about something important. The man recalls how on the day they met, Ms. Bradley accidentally dropped a speaker on his head. She was the first person he saw when he regained consciousness and immediately fell in love with the stranger. His consciousness changed after the blow. He accidentally knocked over 2 buckets of paint and began to leave marks in the form of dolphins, and all the other paint mixed and got a drawing, one huge dolphin. And just like that, Michael went crazy, believing he could work miracles. But Miss Bradley is fine with all this. The main thing is that the groom does not refuse the wedding and she will still become the mayor's wife. That same night, Charlie crushed up the fun pills. When Ellie was distracted, he sprinkled all the powder into the casserole filling that his mother will take to the wake tomorrow. A psychologist prepares to meet a crowd of fans. Mr. Bradley is rocking out on the exercise machines, and the mad mayor took blue paint to work magic. When the bride wakes up, she sees Michael covered in paint, and her whole house has been painted with dolphins. Michael sees dolphins all the time, and this is where the ceremony will take place. The woman now wonders how to fix it. Finally, Mr. Bradley turns on the tape and sees Dean pointing his finger at his son Charlie. Lee is ripe to tell about the boy they kidnapped. He doesn't know what to do and asks his parents to help him, but they are going to call the police if it's all true, of course. Lee got scared and said it was a joke. Mr. Bradley came to the ex's house and asked where his son was. He's not in his room, won't answer to his name. According to the mother's version, he's just hanging around somewhere. Crystal asks Billy to stop, let Charlie go and forget about the pills, but Billy doesn't care what she thinks. Lee has gone off the deep end altogether after talking about the police. He realized what a mess they were in. Dean's dad said he wanted to go to the wedding instead of the wake. In his next book, he'll be more interested in writing about the problems of newlyweds rather than death. Dean is finally fed up with his parents and the indifference of all the adults. Out of helplessness and anger, he started trashing his room. Crystal walked in and saw the crazy guy talking to dead Troy. Daddy's pills were killing him. Dean finally let his feelings out and cried because he couldn't stop his friend. He was faced with the choice of getting high again or saving the boy no one cares about, and he threw away the pill. Jerry dumps down the mayor and listens to all the bullshit he'll take away. Ely brings her dish to the wake. The guests taste it and start laughing at the top of their lungs, and Lee finally realizes what they have to do next. They should kill the little boy so he wouldn't be found and they wouldn't go to jail. Padlety pounced on the poor guy, but he couldn't manage to strangle him. Billy holds out a knife to his friend. It'll be a lot easier that way. The scumbag encourages him and recommends punching him in the stomach. The idiot does so, injuring the boy. With his next lunge, Lee plunged the knife into his leg, at which point Dean burst into the room. Billy wanted to finish what he started, but Charlie pulled out a knife and slashed the scumbag in the eye, depriving him not only of the eye itself, but also of his dream of becoming an airplane pilot. Charlie's stressed out and threatens to kill everyone else, but Dean talks him into giving up the knife. The boy no one wanted was finally safe. Billy ran out of the house and started yelling all over the street. Under his screams, the bride came out to the guests, a sight much more interesting than a wedding or a wake. The guy's frantic and begging for help. Just as Mr. Bradley pulls up, he gets a glimpse of his ex-girlfriend and runs over the criminal at full throttle. Briefly, the one-eyed man still managed to fly, but landed quickly and painfully on the car. The cop pounced on Ms. Bradley with accusations, and a spark flickered between the mayor and Jerry. Dean went to see Mrs. Johnson, who was alone in the house. Dean did what the inconsolable mother had sorely missed, to have someone just talk to her about her son. He told the woman everything he knew about Troy. Mrs. Johnson was very grateful to him for that. In court, Lee turned into a page boy and dumped all the blame on Billy. In prison, Billy was taught to be a bully. Almost no one came to the meeting with the important psychologist, but his wife became a celebrity thanks to her life system. Ms. Bradley went bankrupt, the mayor quit politics and started painting dolphins. He has a new fiancée, Jerry. Dean and Crystal started dating, and Charlie started living with his father and swinging so no more goats could hurt him, and they all live in one big dolphin.